Hi, my name is Bob Colley, and in this short video I'm going to talk about Pensions Policy Institute report into defined contribution pension default investment strategies. Now, the default investment strategy within defined contribution has, over the last few years, become an absolutely key element. That's because around 90% of defined contribution pension plan members in the UK are invested in the default strategy. This came about largely as a result of auto-enrolment being rolled out fairly broadly following legislative changes that were made in 2012. If you are auto-enrolling an individual into a defined contribution scheme, that means that that individual is preferring not to actively become involved in decisions around their membership. Now, if you've made that decision not to be actively involved in even being a member of a plan, then it's very likely that the more complex and difficult decision of how to invest the assets that you have within your pension plan, you're not going to want to do that either. So hand in hand with the growth of auto-enrolment, we see this growth in the default strategy becoming pretty much the most common form of investment strategy that defined contribution plans are following. And a lot of work has been done on what the best investment strategy is. And that work is focused very much on how to fit the investment strategy to the typical plan member. What our study did is ask a slightly different question. We looked not at the typical member, but on variations between members. So in other words, if the strategy makes perfect sense for the typical member, well, how good a strategy is that for a non-typical member? Is it still something that does work for them, or is it something that is completely inappropriate? This is a question that we think has been relatively under-researched relative to some of the other questions around investment strategy within defined contribution. And the context in which this was being done is one in which people are trying to create better investment strategies. And in particular, there's a lot of focusing on how do we broaden the investment strategies? How do we access a wider range of investment assets in order either to improve returns or to reduce risk, to reduce the volatility of the assets and the investments, in order to achieve two different objectives. One of those is let's find assets which are other sources of return in order to increase the returns that we're earning. But at the same time, we're looking to diversify the assets, spread them, and find ways to reduce the concentration of risk, and in that way reduce the volatility of the overall portfolio. So two different objectives that we're looking for as we're expanding the range of assets that we're investing in. And obviously, to the extent that different investment strategies are appropriate for different types of plan member, you're going to see that one objective is more appropriate for some types of people, and the other objective, reducing volatility, is more appropriate for another set of individuals. Essentially, it comes down to how does the trade-off differ between risk and return across different individuals. This was the thing that we really looked at. So, as I say, most research into the best investment strategy for a defined contribution member will ask, well, what's the right trade-off? How far do we go in terms of pursuing the riskier assets, which we expect to have high returns? How much do we need to put the assets into the less risky assets in order to dampen the volatility of the portfolio? Where do we find that right balance for the typical member? What we were doing was looking not so much at where on that line do we want to put the individual member, but rather how steep is the line? How steep is that trade-off between risk and return between different types of member? Coming out of this, the conclusions that we reached are it's a good thing that defined contribution plans continue to evolve, continue to try to improve the investment strategy, both from a return point of view and a risk point of view. As those strategies evolve, we do think that it's going to be more focus on how to find ways to customize the strategy to fit members better than it is happening today. At the moment, typically, strategy will be customized by the age of the individual, but not in any other way. Other dimensions may start to come into that equation. We may start to see closer customization across different types of individual within defined contribution default strategies. What we do know for sure is that the defined contribution world is going to continue to evolve. We're going to continue to see developments in strategy and improvements in strategy over time. And we believe, based on the results of this study at least, that one of the areas of evolution is going to be that increased customization over time to fit individuals better. So thank you for watching the video. The report that I've described is available along with other Pensions Policy Institute reports at the PPI website.